Okay, here we go. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this Stories from Max People Facebook Live. My name is Patricia Martinez. I work at AIDL, the European Association for Information and Local Development. AIDL is one of the 20 partners that work in the MAX project, Maximizing Migrants' Contributions to the Society. The MAX project is funded by the Asylum, Migration and Integration Program of the European Union. And what we aim at MAX is to change the narrative around migration. And how do we do this? So we've been working for the last 2 years around 3 areas. First of all, we've been researching and communicating about the positive contribution that diversity has into EU societies. By communicating facts and figures, but also real stories of people. We've been providing training to media professionals and to students in the so-called socio-paradigm, which is how to counterbalance wrong stereotypes and prejudices about migration when reporting about migration news. And thirdly, we've been organizing what we call the Diversity Dialogue Fora, which is encounters between native-born population and newcomers to share ideas, to share experiences, and to debate about migration issues. Now, today, what we want to address is the very important topic of education and the role that education plays in providing access to knowledge and access to resources to all. This last Sunday, it was the International Day on Education. It was celebrated by the United Nations to commemorate the function that education has in building peace, in building development around the world. Of course, this year we had this celebration in the context of the COVID pandemic situation that, as we all know, has triggered several difficulties. And when it comes to education, the difficulty of for the most vulnerable of our societies to have this actual access to education. So to debate and to share their experiences with us, we have today some great speakers from 2 partners of the MAX project, Liga Coop Sociali with Cooperativa Sociali Agora as our guest, and also Christina from the Johannes Michelsoni Center in Estonia. So I would like to first welcome and to invite Christina Avdonina. Hi, Christina. As I said, you work as the head of the work center in Tallinn, in Estonia, for the Johannes Michelsoni Center. And you work since many years providing training opportunities for people that are in the long-term unemployed. So meaning those that have been for more than 6 months without any employment opportunities. So what I wanted to ask you today was, well, first of all, thank you very much for joining. To present us what do you do at the Johannes Michelsoni Center and the work that you implement there in providing training opportunities, education for refugees in Estonia.
Hello from my side. Yes, I work at the Johannes Michelsoni Center. I work as a project coordinator, as a project leader. And I do work with mostly unemployed people and mostly long-term unemployed people. So we do have specific target groups. Among them are also refugees, but these are not the only target group of our project. So basically we have a really large spectrum of target groups. But among them are also refugees who want to enter Estonian labor market. And concerning education opportunities, we provide so-called job readiness training, as we call it. So we just help people who are unemployed or who have been long-term unemployed to enter Estonian labor market. And refugees in Estonia speak Russian also. They have possibility to participate in this training. We did provide this training in Arabic as well some time ago. It went pretty well. The group was small, but they all had their good results in general. So we were really pleased with the results. So we did have Arabic training, but we don't have anymore. So now we have only Estonian or Russian job readiness training. But we do provide different various services, and refugees who come to us also have the possibility to enter if they speak English or Estonian or Russian or any other language that we have trainings in Estonia in general, in the whole country, then we can provide to finance these trainings. So mostly they're related to their job. For example, last case, we have driving license that we paid for, also YELTS tests, so English tests that we paid for, also really like various specific really different depending on their work field, like what they're interested in, specific courses or training. But we do provide this job readiness training inside our services, and we do have refugees, but we also have newly arrived immigrants who participate there. And the training lasts for around 3 months, consists of 6 parts. And there are around 10 to 14 people in one group, in each group. And basically what they do is that they, through this 3-month period, they improve their self-awareness, psychological self-awareness, what they want to, where they want to go in the future, what they want to achieve in the labor market, career wishes and goals, and they assess their own skills on the labor market and understanding like what kind of skills they have and how can they be valuable to employers, and also knowledge how to behave and present oneself on a job interview, which was really important with the group. In case of refugees, it was really important for them because for them it was a whole new world coming to Estonia, coming to European country with the really different cultural background. It was really difficult for them at first to understand the rules that we have here in Estonia concerning labor market and how to behave with employer. So this was a really important topic for them, like how to present oneself. And also understanding general values of labor market and Estonian labor market law and labor law in general, what rights they have, what obligations they have, knowledge of general rights and responsibilities of an employee in Estonia, basically. And also in general, like how to behave in Estonian labor market, how to search for a job, like where to search for a job, and this kind of topics we all go through. So this is basically the one training that we provide, really large training. But also, as I said, we do pay for different various trainings if they have specific ideas or wishes where they want to work, and they don't have these skills now, but they want to acquire them, then they have this possibility.
Okay, thank you. It sounds like very comprehensive support from the psychological point of view, the legal. Well, I'm going on and off, sorry. It's Brussels weather, you know. Very comprehensive. You mentioned language, which I think is one of the areas that it's always identified as one of the main barriers for newcomers. And I know that in the case of Estonia, there is the Russian population, and I think that your education system is also taking into account all these specificities of the newcomers. And so, Christina, how it's been the last year? Because of course, all these training opportunities, all this counseling, it's been happening in a different way. And as we said, we have seen how the COVID for sure has a wider impact on those that are more vulnerable in our societies. So have you somehow managed to overcome this and still been able to provide this training, this access to education? What are the main barriers that you have spotted, and what maybe you would recommend to considering that we have to learn something from this unprecedented situation? and that can be maybe digital opportunities more accessible for vulnerable groups. How has been your experience, and how it is still, and what would you recommend in that sense?
Well, the experience was quite overwhelming and psychologically a bit maybe difficult, especially for our target group, like long-term unemployed, since they saw that it was really difficult for them, even more difficult to enter labor market. But yeah, we had our difficulties, but we managed to change our methodology. So basically we moved from face-to-face meetings to online meetings with the group. It was a bit difficult at first, since we work a lot with psychological topics. It was really hard because now you have to talk with really like hard issues. You have to talk like through camera with other people and with lecturers. So it was really difficult at first, but they really grew into it. So we had a Russian group going through this like a pilot project, a Russian group of unemployed, and we had 4 newly arrived immigrants also in this group. So they really liked it. It was longer than we usually do. It was for 5 months, not 3 months. We had to completely switch the methodology, and we used to do it like whole day training. Now we did it like 3 hours maximum at one day, because people were like really tired after 3 hours sitting in front of computers. So we had to change a lot of things, but in general, I think it went well. The group really liked it, and they grew together as a support group.
Okay, that's great to hear that at least that have triggered this cohesion in the group. Thank you very much, Christina. We might have maybe questions later from our audience, and I will then go back to you. Thank you very much. Okay, so now I would like to go to our Italian partners in the MAX that are represented today by Pietro Boriotti from Lega Coop Sociale in Italy. And we are also very pleased to have the members of the Cooperative Sociale Agora, represented by Emanuela Graziani and the rest of the team. So maybe we can start with you, Pietro, if you would like to tell us a little bit more of the work that you do in Lega Coop Sociale in the field of inclusion, migration, integration, and education. Please unmute yourself.
Well,
the famous sentence of the year.
Okay. Actually, I rather do that. I can say present Lega Coop Sociale as a organization. Then I will give the floor to Emanuela that could present a bit more, a much more detailed overlook at the situation in in Italy, or at least in our organization. No?
Okay.
So beginning with Lega Coop Sociale, we are Lega Coop Sociale, with which I cooperate, is let's say the groups, the representatives of social cooperatives within Lega Coop, with the National League of Cooperatives, and it's fundamentally employers organization. Obviously, Lega Coop Sociale is a non-profit organization and represent its associated bodies by favoring their planning, social, entrepreneurial development, and by representing them in the institutional desk that works with the cooperation and development. Talking about numbers, actually, Lega Coop Sociale represents more or less 2,421 social cooperatives. Among them, 1,191 manage social, health, welfare, and educational services, the type A cooperatives in Italian legislation. 674 support the employment of disadvantaged people, type B organization. With disadvantaged people, we cover the whole spectrum of the European, almost the whole spectrum of the European legislation about disadvantage. So we go through immigrants, women with children, people in economic troubles, mental health issues, and so on. Then among Gov Sociali associated, there are even 150 consortium structures that represent social cooperatives as well. Very important in Lega Gov Sociali, obviously, is the working group with about immigration, where Agora is a member, okay, and the working group is composed of 100 people, so it's pretty huge. Then, so I will, if you agree, Patricia, I will leave the floor to Emanuela to go deeper into the education issues and so on.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Pietro. So, Emanuela, the floor is yours to share with us on the education, what you do.
Okay, I work for a Cooperativa Agora Croton, and also my colleague, they work in Cooperativa Agora, and we work in immigration because we have three different centers for accommodation of migrants, now named SAI Sipuini, according with the new law. It's very important in this kind of center, give importance at the education, above all to Italian language, because the study of the Italian language is very, very important to work, to be able to do everything by themselves one day when the project finish. Of course, in with this year, thanks COVID, was very, very difficult for us continue with the Italian lesson, Italian school, and study Italian in the public Italian school, because in Italy there are CPA, are the Center for Educational of Italian Language for Migrants. They are open only inside the public school with teachers that are formed and prepared and authorized to teach Italian language as L2 to migrants. So they have this, they are authorized thanks study. This year was very difficult because the school closed immediately, no time to organize this kind of service. And so all the 15 hours of Italian language that we have to, the service of Italian language is only by ourselves. And so we organized in the COVID period in March, we buy computer for each center, and for each apartment where our migrants are inside. Think that we have not only men, but we have also family with children. And so we have to provide to give them computer, personal computer with a Wi-Fi connection, so they can continue to study at school, but also for adults people continue study Italian. So we give them all these personal computer, printer. We send them work of Italian language to do, homeworks, and the teacher every day have a Skype lesson. So we have done Skype contact, an email address for each apartment where the family are inside. I speak for my center. So we continue to Italian language in this way. In where Francesca, in the center where Francesca's work, there is a big room. So with a big TV, the Italian teacher do online the lesson, and so people can continue to study. So we have invented a new way of school because it's very important to give school educational training to our people. Difficult also for the labor, because they start project inside some firm inside the place with ANPAL Servizi. They start work and they have to stop immediately the work. So there are two different aspects. Social, you stop to have social with other people, to have contact with other people, but also you stop your personal project of life, because stop the Italian, stop my work, thinking in a few months I have to find a new accommodation for my family, for myself, was very, very hard and difficult. And so Italian is very important also for the second part, for the educational training in lab, because no Italian, difficult study also for other. For example, if you would like cook, teach to cook, you need to understand very well the Italian language. And also in Calabria, but in other parts of Italy, it is very difficult for migrants to continue to study and have a specific training course in matter like kitchen or in other kind of field, because first of all, ask the competence, Italian competence, a good Italian competence, a certification of your ability that is not so easy to have. School, to be graduate or to finish high school in your country and show and give your graduation, that is very, very difficult for us helping in this way, because the region Calabria, but other region in Italy, ask this. You have to, you need this competence, and so after we can give you the possibility to participate to this kind of activity. For Italian language.
Yes, sir. And what would be that minimum requirement of the language?
The requirement of the language
to access the training, let's say, more
B1.
technical.
In some case, B1. Yeah.
B1.
B1. Yeah. So
it's can take on average, in your experience, how much time take on average?
How much time to have the certification of B1? Yes. In my experience, how many people? More or less 6, 7, not more than 10 people. Okay, in my experience, but they start to study Italian immediately. Immediately. Also, when they arrive in the big camp, like Sant'Anna's camp in Cara, they start to study Italian immediately, and after continue seriously to study in public school with the private center, in the private lesson inside our centers, school, Italian school in public school. So have that B1 level is not so easy. Yeah, because public system give you A1, A2, and after the first level of our education. So scuola media is more or less in Europe, I think is the 8th class. Yes, 8th class. Okay, and so this is the certification that the public school gives at migrants. Have B1 level is very difficult. You have to continue to study in also private school that you do the lesson, you finish, you do the exam, and after you get the certification, English, German, Spanish, B1, B2, okay. The public school arrive only to level A2.
Okay. Thank you, Manuela.
You're welcome.
There was some questions at the end. One we already addressed it about the COVID. Both of you already mentioned it. And we have another attendee who is asking, speaking specifically about migrant children. Do your organization address any specific training for them, additional language courses, intercultural activities, trainings, or summer camps for these migrant children? And maybe also, because the two of you mentioned language is essential to have at least a certain level of competence to be able to communicate. Is there any other kind of activities that can try to accelerate this process, and specifically for migrant children?
Yes, after school, we help children with the homeworks at home, and until school were open, one of my colleagues, according with the school, and they have done a special plan for migrant children. She went every day inside school, and according with the teacher, according with the family, they studied together Italian inside the school and explain in a better way all the subjects of school. So we work in this way. During the summer, children continue to come in our center, so they do homework, above all read and read to understand better Italian. But with children is very is different. They learn immediately, and so in 2-3 months they start immediately to speak Italian every day, step by step. They have done a different. They arrive immediately at their competence. They need to be integrated inside the school.
Yes, I think with migrant children, of course, the process is a little bit different. Christine, I think that in your case, because you work more with the education in terms of job seeking for the long-term unemployed, maybe you specifically might not work directly with children, but I don't know if in the Johannes Mikkelson Center, you have also any other kind of intercultural activities or this summer camp, something that is doing this mingling of people from different origins or specific for migrant children integration.
Mm-hmm. Specifically now, we don't work with kids, but we used to have projects working with kids. But now, since the numbers of refugees are not that high in Estonia, so we actually have an NGO who is dedicated to working with refugees. So they provide different services for kids, for adults also, additional services, specifically working with refugees. But we don't. Or doesn't. We work with mostly unemployed people.
Okay. And do you think that, because you've been mentioning a lot also the language, that there are other ways or tools to kind of to accelerate the process? Because I guess Emanuela was sharing their experience with this, having at least this B1. I don't know how it's from Estonia. I don't speak Estonian, but I think it might not be the easiest. So how is more or less they also need, I guess, a certain minimum level to then be able to access the other training and the other capacity building activities. What is that minimum, and how do you think that it could be maybe boosting in a faster way, if you think it is possible?
I would say that language is one of the first barriers when it comes to integrating into the society in general, at least in Estonia. But I think it's the same for other countries as well. Because when you speak the same language, it's easier to communicate and understand each other. Yes. So it's like basics. In Estonia, you have to have, I think it's the same. So it's B1 level at least. But when if you want to work on a much higher level, then of course you have to have C1 level of language. But mostly it's Estonian or Russian or English. B1 level, depending on your job, because it's also possible to work in Estonia only in Estonian, only in Russian, or only in English. So it really depends. But a lot of work, when it's related to communication, of course, then it's required that you have to have at least Estonian, Russian, or Estonian, Russian, and English, or some other language.
Wow. Yeah, I guess it depends also on the sector, right? Because Estonia is a well-known digital country, so maybe there is an entry point for English speaker in that sector for the English. Yeah,
we do have, for example, also refugees who come here and who have rather good IT knowledge. Then it's easier for them to actually stick with English language, which they already know mostly. So it's easier for them to develop English language and then to find job, which is English-based. So it's not Estonian-based, it's English-based company, for example. And they only use English language in their work since it's international company. So it's easier for them to find work in this kind of companies. But when it comes to, for example, like illiterate people or people who have like basic knowledge only, for example, on their own language, whichever it may be, for example, Arabic or any kind of other language that they come in. So it's really hard for them. At first, they have to learn how to write in their own language, or mostly they start with a different language. Mostly, for example, in Estonia, they have this approach that they start with like a 0 level. Even if you don't speak anything, you have to like understand basic words, and you go step by step. But you have to just know how to communicate. So it's not so important even to write, but just to communicate like basic words. So they go step by step. But at first, it's that we have seen that have been our like experiences, that they have to know how to learn at first, like how to get new knowledge and how to learn, and then they can proceed to actually acquire new knowledge, so learn new languages or new skills. So yeah, I think language is the first. It's number one that you have to have in Estonia.
Yeah, no, language is the first for sure. I think, as you said, is the same in all countries, and I think it's also very relevant what you point, that for some people it's not only the language as we interpret it literally, the sense of speaking the language, but also to really understand what there is behind each meaning and how to communicate. Okay, I'm afraid that we are already out of time, and we address all the questions of our audience. Thank you very much, Emanuela and Emanuela team, Francesca, and Pietro, and Cristina, for this rather short but interesting chat about education and the importance of language as an essential entry point for ensuring the access of education for all. We close here today, and we stay in touch for next stories from Max People in the next edition. Thank you, and I wish you a nice afternoon.
Thank you very much to you.
Thank you very
Bye-bye.
much. Bye. Bye.
Bye, Christina.
Bye-bye.